Hey folks, welcome to Jay's Outdoors and stuff. Today I want to go over fishing with you. Generic fishing, basic fishing 101. For the people who have never gone fishing, never been, and you want to get started doing it, I'm going to teach you how. It's a pretty simple thing to do. The gear in the store is easy to buy. It can look overwhelming if you've never fished and you go to the fishing aisle. Everything you see looks overwhelming. You see piles of sinkers, piles of hooks, lures, you see baits, and you think, I don't know where to start. Well, that's what we're going to get you started with. All right. We'll go over several things here. We'll go over some regulations. We'll go over the gear, the fishing pole you want to use, some of the baits, hooks, weights, and I even got a little tackle box because you're going to want to put all your stuff in it. But let's get started with the rod first. The easiest rod that you can get for a beginner is one of these. It's a closed face rod. The face is closed up here. Got a handle you reel it here with, and we have a drag wheel on here, and this is our release button. But this is the easiest rod to use because as opposed to an open faced rod where you have a bail, you have to hold line and kind of flip it to cast it. This one is going to let you press that button down and just go whoo, and it'll go. It'll be the easiest one to learn, and it's a good rod if you're a beginner. Okay, as you step up to the intermediate level, you're going to want to get some better stuff. You're going to want to get one of these fancier open-faced rods, you know. And these can be easy to use too. I just recommend practice with it a little bit, maybe in the front yard, before you take it out, because it might give you some problems. You know, sometimes the line in here and the spool can get a little bit tangled up, and that might frustrate you when you're out fishing. Get familiar with this rod before you take it out to the lake and go. But what I wanted to teach you guys how to fish really for is trout. In a lot of the states, they do what's called put and take trout. They put them in, being the state. Here in Colorado, it's the Colorado Parks and Wildlife, they put them in, and then we take them. That's what they call put and take. So they put them, we take them, and they're not bad. You know, you'll get some decent fish that you can put on a stringer, take home, cook, and they're good food. Eat them up. This rod, what I wanted to show you is it's a medium weight rod. So this one's a little bit, the reason why I would say for a beginner it's a good one, because it's going to catch those little trout. You're going to have a good time with them. But as you start stepping up and wanting to go after bass, maybe a smaller catfish, this rod will handle it. And it'll take care of what you want to do. This little one I got here, this one's an ultralight. It's a lot thinner, good for those stalker trout, those put and take trouts. We call them stalker trout. Good for stalker trout. And an ultralight, when you get good at fishing and you know what you're doing, I've caught 8-pound fish on an ultralight. So you can still catch big fish on these. Don't think that because they're little and it's called an ultralight that you can only catch ultralight fish. No, the rod's an ultralight, you're still going to catch big fish with them. But let's go into, we've looked at the rods. I won't go over too much how to use them until we get to the lake or until we do a practice cast. I haven't decided if I want to go out in the yard and do a practice cast or if we're just going to go to the lake and bait up a hook, and actually I'll show you how to cast then, and I'll show you functions of the rod and reel. But let's go into hooks, because that's the first thing we're going to want to put on the line. I grabbed us a couple of different packs of hooks. One type I grabbed is raw hooks, these guys. Okay, I just call them raw because these ones are called snelled, meaning they have, and I don't know if you can see it, I'll kind of get an angle or two. You can see there's a line hooked to the hook. So you just tie on up here to this loop. But these ones are called bait holder snells, and they put different sizes down here. This one is a size 10, and you can see how little that red hook is on a size 10. This is a size 6. And this package is already open because I've tried to make this video one other time and I didn't like the way it came out, so we're doing a new one. But those are the hooks. for trout fishing, what we're gonna do, grab some size 6s, just the bait holder snells, like, let's not drop them all over, like these ones here. These were the size 6 bait holder snells. Get some of them. If they're out of those, not a problem. Get these raw hooks, but get them in a size 6. Because really you're just going to tie this hook onto the end of your line. And that's all you're going to do. Pretty much the same thing you would do with the snell. Okay? But we looked at the hooks. Let's look at a weight now. Now there's 3 different types, well there's a bunch of different types of weights. But the 3 that you're going to see mostly in the store are going to be these really cool swivels. I call them bell sinkers. They're on a little swivel. These ones are pretty cool. You just tie these right onto your line. These ones are egg sinkers. Egg sinkers were made to be a little bit more of a slide weight. Okay. Now typically we won't use these going after stock or trout. The other weights I'm going to show you are going to be sufficient. And then we have this little pack of split shot. Now when I say split shot, you probably think, what's he talking about when he says a split shot? Well, what it is, and I didn't need all 20 of them that were in there. I only needed 1. But what they are is, there's that little split in there. Well, get up there. I don't know how well you're going to see it. But what you do is you're going to put that over your line and then clamp it down. And it's going to close over your line. Now why I like these ones is because I can slide it up or down a little bit. You know, I can slide it down to where the hook is only going to come up a bottom off the bottom, or it's going to come up a foot off the bottom of the lake. If I want, I can pull it back 2 or 3 feet. And in the case of using a bait like power bait or an inflated worm, it'll come up 2 or 3 feet off the bottom. Okay, but those are split shot sinkers. And we'll use split shot sinkers if we're going to bait fish in a river too. We got a lot of Colorado, rivers here in Colorado that we can bait fish in. And those split shots are awesome. You really don't want to use the big bell or egg sinkers in those. Now the other thing you're going to need, these are all necessities, is you're going to need some bait. Okay, now going after the stock or trout, their good baits are going to be worms that you can get. The power baits. The power baits are pretty cool because Berkeley's got it pinned down pretty good for trout baits on these. They make a couple different colors. I grabbed the orange and the rainbow. You can see orange and a rainbow. Not covered there. Orange, rainbow, as you can see. And then there's also fireballs or salmon eggs, people call them. Several brands of these. But these are the main 2 plus worms. Now minnows, you can get some minnows and try that. But for stock or trout, these are going to be your best ones. You know, when you start getting really good at fishing, you're going to try different things. You're going to try lures. You're going to want to try like minnows, things like that. And that's going to be fine. Right now, we just want to get you started and get you going fishing. All right, now something else you're going to need is a tackle box. Because all this little stuff I showed you, you're going to want to put in your tackle box. Okay. Another thing you're going to need, a little pair of pliers. That hook sometimes is in the lip, sometimes it's down in the mouth. You don't want to just cut off your hook all the time. You want to get the hook, pull the hook out, boom, and these needle nose pliers will help you. Now when you're trout fishing, trout are pretty delicate. So if it's hooked in the mouth, in the lip, you can probably get a hook out and release the fish. If that hook is anywhere deep in, down into the trout's mouth or its gill or its throat, you just need to cut the line if you're going to let it go or keep it. Okay, because there's a pretty good chance that you're going to kill it just trying to get the hook out when it's deeper. So any of those fish, keep those. You know, if you're having a good day fishing, release all the ones that are lip hooked and keep the ones that swallow the hook. Because once they swallow the hook and you try pulling it out, that's bad. Now if you just clip your line all the way up as close as you can to their mouth, you just clip the line without pulling that hook out, just clip the line, most fish will survive. I've caught a lot of rainbows that have been decent sized that still had a little bit of line coming out. Now they say the hook, so my point was, so with the line coming out, they'll live and they'll survive. Now some people say that the hook should rust away. Now I've caught fish that I've caught fish in the end of summer that had ice fishing jigs still in their lip. So I don't know how true it is that they'll rust out of their system. I think that might take a couple of years, but that's a argument for another video, maybe for another day. And a lot of people, maybe people have different experiences with different fish. But yeah, if you're gonna catch and release trout, lip hooked, or if they swallow it, you need to cut the line, or just keep them and eat them. But let's see, we covered our gear. The only other thing we need to cover is, what do you need to fish other than all this gear? Well, in Colorado, you're gonna need a license and know the regulations, okay? I read through these every year. This one just came out a little while ago. It's 2020, Colorado. But review that, and don't review it, read it and go through it. Now it's simple reading. They don't put anything in lawyer terms. They put it in stuff we can understand. But it does go through things like, how old does your kid have to be before they need a license? What kind of license do you need? If you want to use multiple fishing poles, which in Colorado one person can only use 2, what do you need there? You do need an extra $4 license, it is, to be able to use 2 poles. But they go through a lot of regulations. They also go through size limits. Bass have to be a certain size if you want to keep one of them. So you need to, and walleye, there's some other fish that have size limits, but there's also tells you what your limit is, how many you can keep. So it's just regulations, read it and know it, because that thing is going to save you from getting in trouble and getting a ticket. Okay, if you don't review that and read it well, you can end up with a ticket, and that's not what you want. All right, we already bought fishing gear, we already paid for gas going out into the lake, we already bought a cooler full of sodas and whatever we're drinking. Let's not add to that with a ticket. Okay, that's just my suggestion. You're already putting a lot of money into this. Don't add to a ticket. Ticket will just double the price of everything you did. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. Now, earlier in the video I mentioned this is the second time I've done this video. I've done a couple of takes on it, and I didn't like the way I was explaining things to you. So I think this one might be the final cut on how I'm going to explain it. So in that, these rods are already rigged up, because in the other videos I showed you how to rig them. We went through, but you're right, when you buy these fishing poles, it's not going to come with a hook and a weight on it. Okay, this line's going to be reeled all the way down to here with a little tie off on it. What you're going to do is pull that tie off up, release your reel here by hitting this button. You're going to release it, and by there, with that, line will be able to come out. Okay, now you're going to take that line and you're going to run it through each hole down the fishing pole. They're called eyelets. You're going to run it down each eyelet. You're not going to cross the rod. You don't want any of it to twist and go around the rod. You want them to go straight from the hole in that reel up and go through the eyelets. And in this case, there's 4 eyelets. So run up through the eyelets. Okay, you'll come down. I'm going to use these needle nose pliers real quick, because we got to do that. Set that down. Now what you're going to do, I used a snelled hook. You can see it's got the loop on the end, and I'm covering my line, so that is all you see is the hook. There's the snell on the end, and then there's our little size 6 hook down there. And that's what we want to use. Okay, that's all I did, was tie that onto the end of the line. Now what knot you use, you might want to YouTube a video for knots, because there's a lot of knots. There's a lot of different knots you can use. There's probably 3 or 4 that a lot of the good fishermen use, and when I say good, I mean intermediate to pro. These guys, there's only probably about 3 or 4 knots we use. So, but there are several different, and the one knot for me might not be the knot for you. When I was a kid, I just used to do like 4 shoelace knots on my hook. Really just loop, loop it, loop it. I do 4 of them, and you know, for a long time it worked. But then I started catching some bigger fish, and that knot was coming undone. Okay, so you're gonna need to investigate a little into which knot. They're not hard to tie, and I'm sure there's 500 videos on YouTube on how to do a knot and what the best knot may be. And a good knot is important because a knot is the weakest part in your line, unless there's something wrong with your line, like you've dinged it on a rock or something. Your knot is always going to be the weakest part on your line. Okay, but we did tie up the hook onto the line. Now what I was using was I put on the largest split shot that I had. Okay, and I'm going to assume this little guy, he's might be close to a 1/4 ounce. I don't think he is, but I put the line through there, and what I do is clamp it down with these needle nose. It's another reason you need your needle nose. Clamp down these because you don't want to use your teeth. Back in the day we used to use our teeth. That's an old school method. Use your pliers, save your teeth. This sinker, I can move it down and it's stiff, you know, because we clamped it down, and it's not ruining the line. I can pull it back right now. You can see from the weight here to the hook here, maybe 13 inches. It's a good length. That's where you want to leave it. Okay, so we rigged up a rod with the hooks we bought, a size 6 hook, and we also put on a sinker. So really, now we just need to go fishing, and you got to figure I tangle up right here. Trying to teach you guys how to fish, and I'm the one tangling everything up. Brilliant. Now this rod doesn't have a little hook holder on it, so I'm using one of the eyelets. A hook holder they usually put down here on the rod, and this rod has one, but it's just like that. You see this little loop here? That's a hook holder. You even see the hook in it. They make a little hook holder. Use those. Don't reel it up to the tip. Never reel your hook or your weight up to the tip. It's bad for your fishing pole. It'll blow out the eyelets. When I say blow out the eyelets, look how there's a little plastic ring in there. That's so your line won't get damaged. You keep reeling your lure or your weight or hook up to it, click, you're gonna blow out that eyelet. You don't want to do that. Okay, so we've reviewed our gear, the rods, hooks, bait, weights, box, regs. You need to go over, because I'm not kidding, if I got into the regs, it's another 2-hour video. We're going to review our equipment, our rod and reel, when we're out on the lake and we fish, because that's the best way. So that I can cast it, I can show you how to let go of the button. In my house I can't do that. I might hit the dog or the TV. Dog wouldn't be too happy. Alright, I'm trying to think of anything else that might be helpful to us that we would need to know right now. Other than we don't have worms, but I don't need to show you worms. We know what they look like. Okay? Alright, not bad. We've got this video down to 20 minutes right now. And that's what I wanted it at. Was something that you guys could bear watching without just going, oh my goodness, this is what it's going to take to go fish and I ain't going. Alright? Now, what I've showed you here, this is going to get you basic trout fishing. Now, if you live in a place that doesn't have put and take trout, maybe you guys got a lot of crappie in the area or some bluegill. That's awesome. That's why I wanted to grab these little size 6 hooks. Some of the bluegills have smaller mouths. Crappies, they can take a size 6 hook. But on those, you can just hook a minnow right through the top and bottom lip, and the same method. Toss it out there lightly, because your minnow will fling off if you try and cast it hard. But you know, you'll catch crappie, bluegill, you know, and trout. Now crappie and bluegill most likely aren't going to hit these trout baits over here. Okay, but they will still, those fish will still hit a worm or a minnow. Okay, Now, I don't know if I'm going to have minnows when we go out to the lake and we go fish with these. I'm probably just going to get some worms and we'll use these other two baits I got here. But if you're in an area that doesn't have trout, or your trout are minimal and you have more bluegill and crappie and panfish, all these methods are going to work except for the bait we're using. That's going to be the only difference. All right, folks. Now, you're probably thinking a little bit about lures, bobbers. We're going to get into lures, bobbers, and some other techniques in my next video of beginning of fishing, of whatever we're going to name this video, fishing for beginners, fishing 101. The next video is going to be kind of stepping you up to that level, because once you know how to cast, you can run lures, you can run different spinners and cast masters and stuff like that. And then you'll understand your fishing pole and a little bit more of fishing. We can use a bobber, put a minnow under a bobber. That works great too. But until then, thank you. And the next move, you guys should see my face out at the lake. We'll be out there trying to catch a something. All right. Thank you. All right, we're back out at the lake again. Let's see. We're gonna put some power bait on and see if we catch a fish. That's what I'm trying to teach you how to do, is catch a fish. Now, we've got a little bit of wind out here, so I came to a spot where there's less wind. Hopefully you won't be able to hear all that in the wind stuff. But we're going to start with orange power baits. Get a couple of these little nuggets out here. Oh, that's too many. We'll bait them up. We'll throw them out. We'll see if we can catch us a trout here. Alright. Trying over so you can see we got a little size 6 hook we tied on. One little power nugget. Weight. We got that about 18 inches away from the hook. Perfect. We'll go ahead and throw this one out a little bit left ways, we'll say. Perfect. We'll set that down. Let that weight sink. While that's happening, we'll bait the other one. Same thing. We'll go bump with that power bait right through the hook. I give it a little squish, a little form. What we're looking for. Hook exposed a little bit. And we'll cast this one out straight or a little to the right. Just so we're covering a different area. You don't want them both sitting in the same spot. Now let's tighten. Okay. Perfect. Oh, a little stick down there getting in my way. I need to move around. Let's get this. Whoa. Don't fall down. Crack your head on the rock. Get a good bite. Fish take your rod because you're letting their cracked head open. Alright. Tighten that line up. Only tighten it a little bit because that weight we had was a small weight. You know, we keep trying to tighten it, we'll just pull in the whole line eventually. Keep trying to get it tighter and tighter. This one will set. Is right there gonna be a good spot? Nah. Let's see about down in here. Nah. I'm always on that quest for the perfect rock you can set it on. This one ain't too bad. Alright. Now let me hop over there, position camera so you guys can see rods, so when we get a bite, you'll be able to see it. Alright, both rods are in view. We can see them. Awesome. Now I'm going to hop over here in between our rods. Zoo fishing. Unzip the monkey suit a little bit because it is a nice day out. And it's hot. There was a bite. It's a little one. There we go. Oh, missed him. Damn it. Okay, let's let that bait drop back down. We'll see if we get him. Was a nice bite. I even felt him hitting. Went to set the hook. Must not have had it in his mouth as well as I'd hoped. Was a good bite though. Let's do a bait check. If there's bait on it, we just recast it out. If there's not, we rebait it and recast it out. Look at that. He didn't get our little power nugget. Get any of that little extra moss off. I don't want moss on there. I'll kick that right back out there. Perfect. Now I was going to describe to you guys some of the features on these reels. Let me hop over here a little bit. You know, the open face reel, which is the one I don't recommend you start with, but it's still an alright starter rod or a reel. What it has is you get your handle, crank in, only goes one way unless you change this button. Change that button like that, it'll let you go both ways. Now that can be a disaster because you can see if I start unwinding the line how that can turn into a nightmare. So we'll keep that over so that it is locked and only goes one way. Now we have a drag feature. It's right here on the top. Righty tighty, lefty loosey. That's important because if you're using, 8-pound test or 6-pound test is about what this feels like on here. 6-pound test. If you have a fish that's 8 pounds, you need that drag to engage so that it'll pull like that and let line come out. So if you catch a big fish and that starts happening, that's good. Now what you don't want is it to be so loose that on a little bitty fish, that's only 10 inches, that it can take that. Because when that happens, that's when you just need to tighten it up a little bit more. But feel the weight that you have on the other fish. The other one is the bail. If we open the bail up, that's what releases line. You can just see it. You can reel that back up. You're alright. Pretty simple. Reels are pretty simple to use. Knowing how to use your drag and how to set it is pretty important. because if not, you're going to crank it down all the way. And when you crank it down all the way, you're tightening that drag so tight that it's not going to engage when a big fish needs to be able to take some line without breaking your line. If it's too loose, little fish, you'll spend days and it's just going to go zzz, and you're never going to get them in. There's the other one. Let's take a look at him. Alright, this is the closed face reel. There's really only 3 functions on him. It doesn't have that switch to let your handle go back and forth. This handle will only go one way. The other one is this button here. That's going to release so that we can pull line out or cast when you cast. And the other one it's got is this little wheel right here. This wheel is your drag. If I tighten it left, that's tightening it. If I go right, that's loosening it. And there you go. The line that came on this reel is pretty heavy. I'm going to say it's 8-10 pound. Pretty heavy duty line. And keep that drag tightened down pretty good. And that's really the only functions on that reel. Pretty easy. These little split shot sinkers we're using, they just keep pulling line in. Oh. Gotta wonder if we even got a hook on this. Because that was another good bite. You guys seen him. Do bait check again. That was another good bite. 2 bites we missed. Good bait. Hasn't taken our power egg yet. I'll tell you that's only going to last another bite though. Hook's sharp, we're good. Moss on the sinker, don't care. Oh, here we go, here we go. There we go. That's what that drag's for. You hear it zip a little bit? Fish is coming towards us. He's not going to be happy when he sees my ugly face. I'll undo it a little bit, because it was pretty tight. That's what you want. Better fish, you want it to be able to go ahead and take some line. Like that. You can play them in. No need to horse them in, because you're just going to break your line if you do. Keep your line tight. It's a good fish. And of course we didn't bring a net, so I'm going to come down here and have to try and hand land this feller. Right now I'm just hoping it's not way down in his stomach. If it is, we're going to cut the line because I don't want to take this fish home. I already did one cooking video, I don't want to do another one. Now that drag's engaging, you can hear it. That's good. Main thing is we're keeping this line tight. Pull them up to here. And awesome. We're gonna have to cut the line. I just cut it right there. Okay, we have a little bit of line hanging out of his mouth. He's all right. What makes him okay is he's not bleeding. Okay, if this fish was bleeding, we'd be keeping him. I'm not squeezing him extremely tight on the belly. That's all right. It's a good fish. He's probably 16, 17 inches. We'll let him go. Swims off good. Now, if while we're sitting here in the next half hour, if for some reason that fish floats up, we'll use a lure and we'll get him back in here. But that was a good fish. That hook was just down a little bit past the gill. I could see it back in there. And that's the kind that if you try and remove that, you're going to kill the fish. If you cut the line and let him go, he's most likely going to live. I've caught a lot of fish that have been previously caught that you can see that in their mouth or down in their throat. You can see the hook down in there. I think he'll be quite all right. I've caught a lot of fish and released a lot like that. You know, like I said, I'll be out here fishing for a little while today. So if I see the guy float up to the top, I'll use one of my lures and I'll get him out, because I won't let that fish go to waste. But the key was he wasn't bleeding. When they're bleeding, that's bad. Trout don't have very much blood. Yeah, that's the main thing in trout. If they're bleeding, keep it. That's just, you know, I mean, minus a drop of blood off their lip, that's all right. But if you notice them bleeding pretty bad when you bring them out of the water and a lot of blood's dripping, keep it, because that trout's dead. It's gonna die. Bass, some of the other fish that are out there can lose a lot more blood than trout can and still be okay. But trout, they really can't. They can't. If they're losing any blood, there's a pretty good chance they'll die. So just keep them. A little excess. Keep an eye on that rod back there. That was awesome because that wasn't a huge fish, but you can still see that fish still pulled that drag pretty good. Bent the rod pretty good. A decent fish. Another little chunk of power bait. We already re-rigged up. Our weight was the same. We didn't have to throw him away. We just put a new hook on. We'll go ahead and toss this back out there. Whoop. That's pretty far. Bring it in a little bit. That was way more than the foot to 18 inches that we wanted. It was about 20 inches there. Gotta keep watching that one behind me. Fish are notorious for that. When you ain't watching a rod, that's when they'll hit. Like I said, most likely times to get a bite. When you go to get something to drink, go to the bathroom. Basically, anytime you're not looking at your rod, it's the most likely time you're going to get a bite.